begin in darkness. Ibarra is gone. Ivara will, upon her return, Ivara wakes up in inky blackness surrounding her. There is no sign of any of your party members, nor is there any sign of any familiar anything around you. You are essentially in a void. When you come to, even the sound of your own breath makes echoes. And at this time, as you search, you can still see yourself, but you don't know where any sort of light source could be coming from in order to make this plausible. And then, as if a light source reveals itself in the form of a vast star field above you. And you can see these lights now being the main source of illumination. And at your feet, only the dimly starlit covered desert ground. No wind to speak of. No heat. Just night. Make a perception check for me.
What die to start off with on this? I am absolutely horrified. You said perception?
Yes.
That is a 10 plus 3 for a 13.
Your vision takes time slowly to adjust to your surroundings, but you've never seen desert quite like this before. And the only thing that feels familiar is a sense of stillness and calmness. It's a feeling you've had whenever you've tried to just concentrate on your own abilities. An energy that you felt whenever you feel in total control of your own magical abilities. And then from the distance you hear faint footsteps. And slowly coming towards you with no sign of any sort of malice or ill intent presence, but anything looking like a wanderer, an elderly-like figure in a dark blue cloak, shawl essentially wrapped around themselves, a large wooden walking stick, and they stop, and you turn around to look, and the next thing you know, when your vision comes back to its original position, that figure is sitting at a seemingly out of nowhere fireplace, the fire pit in the middle of this makeshift campground. figure raises their head a bit, and you can see it is an elderly male figure. Long, gray, dark beard. Long, silvery locks, some braids coming down on the side, and a few ringlets braided into its beard. And its eyes, though, his eyes, this strange kind of milky whiteness cascading over them that have a somewhat blue gem shimmer to them, as if they get captured in the moonlight. And he's just drawing in the sand with a small walking stick. He looks up at you. Take a seat.
Ivara is going to slowly make her way over, still rather confused, and she's going to look at what the man is drawing in the sand as she goes and takes a seat.
You see that he's just kind of creating this figure eight, this infinity-like symbol in the sand. Just repeatedly, slowly, as if like using it as a means of meditating. You feel a sense of comfort around this person, though. Almost as if they are like a patriarchal type figure for you. It's a feeling you haven't felt in quite some time.
Okay. All right, well, Ivara is going to probably stay silent for a moment, just kind of taking in her surroundings, and she then looks at this old man and she goes, I have no idea how I got here. If you don't mind my asking, who are you?
Well, I can answer a few things for you, but we've met, but so far you've only heard me.
And he takes his stick and kind of gestures towards your book.
Ivara looks at the book and she looks back at him and she goes, so you're the one who's been saying all this stuff in my head, and I thought you were a dragon.
I figured this was a more pleasing presentation.
Oh, I guess whatever makes you comfortable, darling. Where are my friends? What happened?
They're safe. But a lot has transpired. And you have, in a moment of strife and confusion, saved them in a way that not many would expect.
Save them? I found it a little difficult to save my friends if I have no idea where they're at. What all happened? How long have I been out?
Time has passed, and in what you would understand to be at least a half day's time by the time you will awaken back into the material plane. But right now you have captured yourself in a moment before your spell wears off.
Spell? What kind of spell are you talking about?
You know, I have watched this world from its creation to its viewings of prophecy to the history and wars that happened in between, and I have never quite seen someone who has taken as much of a learning and liking to your own abilities in a means that you do this for no wanting of your own. You do this as a means to help others. That is much more than any simple warlock may be. You are something more. It is the reason that I took it upon myself to be your patron.
I don't know what you mean. I ain't nothing special, darling. I do what I can, and I make sure my home is safe and protected. Like, I don't think there's really that much to it.
That's why you are special. Because the means and the wants and desires of someone as you are not of the typical kind who make the deal to have their power emboldened. For the longest time, I know that you have sought out guidance when you were raised with none, or at least not as much as you'd want. And I'm here to tell you that I am not simply to try and fill in for or replace any type of role that you may be looking for, but I am simply here to help you with these abilities that you have. You've always been one to seek knowledge. You've been one to make sure that order is balanced, and from what this world perceives me as, I am in fact a manifestation of such desires. Which is why I think our paths have crossed.
Well, if you don't mind my asking, why'd you bring me here?
Oh, you'll be surprised to find out that this was your doing.
I did this?
Yes, you may not have the full ability to understand how, but in time, it will come. But for what limited time we have left right now, I will tell you this. When you wake up, you will be in a place that you will need to bring everyone back to when they are ready. You will know when that time is. A test is coming. A test that will make sure that all of you will be prepared and able to do what needs to be done to save your town and bring a future where there may not be one at this time.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm a little stressed knowing the situation, especially considering that I seem to have done all this without my knowing. Honestly, it's a little terrifying, but I can tell you when it comes to any group that I know, these folks might be a little bit far and crazy, a few screws loose in between, but we're all very capable, and we're capable, a lot more capable together. I just hope I can do whatever is needed and hope I can do it right.
Do you believe in yourself?
I believe that I'm able to protect those I love and I care about, and that's really all that I can do and all I can try. And Lord knows I'll die trying.
Well, I hope not.
Me too, buddy, but you know how the world is.
Come. Sit, enjoy the fire's comfort, and rest. There is much work to be done, and you will all be able to do this together.
I really hope so. Oh.
And as you take a seat, he puts a blanket over you to let you rest in the warmth of the fire, and the glow of it transfixes your eyes, and your sight soon becomes completely immersed by this ember-filled glow. And as the light surrounds you, eventually your vision fades to black. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Frontiers of Eberron. I am your humble GM, Michael St. Gregory, alongside the heroes of Wyrmwatch. And as we start another exciting chapter, Chapter 9, Lost and Found. When we last left our heroes, a frightening vision beyond the horizon of the Endworld Mountains, as a plume of smoke and fog, much similar to the wall that surrounds the Mournlands, the former nation of Seer that was destroyed in the Day of Mourning, now envelops the nation of Hope, of which our lovely town of Wyrmwatch is located, seemingly under the control of supernatural forces. And now the party of Silas, Hokash, Sister Mira, Alfie, Ellen, and Evan find themselves in the torchlit darkness of a temple of where the Yuan-Ti pilgrimage has taken now residence, just as the outside a sandstorm seals them in. The rolling thunder is heard outside, as rain as well begins to fall. In that darkness, I need those who are still here to do a perception check. That includes you, Evan.
21 from me.
Okay.
Actually roll high for once.
So anyone who got a 15 or higher will hear this eventually, as Avara, when your eyesight comes back, you find yourself in a large cavernous room with a stairwell that leads up. But you see the sconces that are on the side that are glowing with these ever bright lanterns, magically powered lanterns, all point towards the direction to a sealed door on the opposite side, which you can see faintly through the crack of it in the middle, a slight glow of green hue.
Oops.
It's okay. We'll get her back. As for the rest of you, well, actually, wait, she's back. So from there, Ivara, you will...
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. From there, Ivara, you will see that there is this doorway behind you, but the stairwells are leading up. And on the upper side of that stairwell, you do hear familiar voices, ones that you recognize to be several members of your party. And as you head back up those stairs, that is when the rest of you will see Ivara emerging from the other side, as you are now all reunited. Only one of you apparently missing, one that did not make it into the temple during the storm. The seemingly unknown druid. But the Yuan-Ti can do nothing at this time, and you are now, as a party, reunited.
Everyone, look, it's Ivara! Hello!
Ivara is immediately gonna like jump and just be like, "Oh dear God, Alfie, darling, you gotta stop doing that. Seriously, we get that enough with your explosions in the morning. God damn it!"
I didn't blow anything up yet. Not yet. I feel a calling. I feel a calling.
Let's keep it that way right now, Alfie. Take every intrusive thought you got right now and shove it in your noggin.
Shove it in your... Ellen will walk up behind Alfie and just sort of like pat him on the shoulder and be like, "Remember now, it's when I say we need something to go off. Right?
Yes,
right.
Yes. Okay.
Ivara, darling, it's good to see you. How did you get here? Where have you been? We got blipped out in the middle of the desert and you weren't there."
Darling, I'll be honest. I really don't know what happened myself.
How she keep coming in and out of phase like that?
Yet.
Oh no.
According to my studies, this is a phenomenon that we're experiencing where she is traveling interdimensionally, and oh wait, she's back. I'll let her explain.
I'm so sorry if this goes out again. I'm resetting my router. There's thunderstorms going on, so that could be the reason why this is being as weird as it is. Anyway, he's like,
darling.
I'll be honest, Ellen, I have no idea. Apparently, according to my patron, I somehow blipped myself out of there and ended up in, I don't know, some sort of pocket dimension. And old man just drawing in the sand and telling me that it's so weird. My head feels like it's just all swimming.
Travel to pocket dimension.
You have had a time then, ain't you?
I know. Where's Doc? Has anyone seen him?
Actually, no. We don't have several of our party members here.
No one's seen
Why,
the
do you
last
require
of
medical
those
assistance?
about him, right?
Mr. Barr, do you require medical assistance? Is that why you're inquiring?
No, Alfie, darling. I don't need
Sister
medical
Mira
attention.
would
Please
happily
say,
any
please do
medical
not touch me.
assistance, not Alfie.
Please do not touch me.
100%.
But Ivara is just gonna look extremely concerned, especially like knowing that like she thought Doc was with the rest of the party, and she's just gonna kind of shake her head. She goes, "Well, how did y'all get here? I kind of stared into a fire and then suddenly found myself walking up these stairs."
Well, we don't really know. We were down in the mines doing our investigation and we got ambushed by you know whose people. Been trying to keep it a little hush hush around here, but after that ambush, things go dark for all of us. Delilah's missing, Grimsby's gone, and then Evan, honey, they weren't with us to begin with, but got blipped out there with us. Poor thing's been traveling along with us ever since. We're lucky that Hokosh knew what this place was.
Ivara gives a wave to Evan. She goes, "Pleasure to meet you, darling. Ivara Loavir. It's a pleasure."
Evan Ridlow. Nice to meet you.
Ivara is just gonna flash a smile, and she's then gonna turn back to Ellen. And so, what's the plan now? Or do you know anything that's going on back in town?
No, we ain't got no way of getting in touch with anybody back in town. In fact, I had everybody put those special deputy stars on, and they don't work either out of this range or something's interfering with them or what have you. Technically, we did try to get a hold of Delilah, and that didn't go so well. But we ain't got no way of knowing what's going back at town. We don't know where everybody else is. And frankly, darling, if you turn around, that seems to be of more of a pressing issue right this second. And Ellen will just sort of point out at the ominous force that has led them all inside.
So what is this ominous force again?
Sir
A wall of
DM, can
death.
we get another description?
Smash?
What exactly
No.
are we
No,
looking
no.
to describe?
The sandstorm.
The
Our
sandstorm.
Yeah.
impending doom,
Well,
if you will.
Our
The
impending doom.
sandstorm
Our impending
is
doom.
not uncommon to the desert. It is just seemingly a side effect, it seems, of whatever it is that has erupted on the other side of the mountains surrounding your town.
Yvara's going to look out and she's going to look back at Ellen. She goes, all right, so first things first, we got to deal with this issue. We got to take this one step at a time. If we try to do it all at once, it's going to end up killed. So, how do you think we should go about this?
That is a mighty good question. And Ellen will just sort of cross her arms, stand shoulder width apart. Let's see. We've got our missing party members scattered. We don't know where. We got people flipping in and out. Do any of my artificers have a good idea as to whether or not we can get a hold of anybody in any other creative means necessary?
As
Alfie,
you
be
ask
quiet.
that, Hokosh is going to just be looking everywhere in this room that he can see, just to see if there's any like symbols, any different passages, any anything that could be missed. And he does have dark vision.
Oh yes, is this place lit at all?
Oh, good question.
It's lit, all
Yes.
right.
This place-
Also, Yvara is going to take the time to pick up any stray stones that might be around and pocket them bitches.
Of course.
this place is lit by sconce torches on the walls.
I can only assume that Ivara is putting all of these stones into a sock and she's going to beat somebody to death with it. The sock weighs 72
I
pounds
just got
by now.
magic stone as a cantrip, so it's about to. Oh my god! Can I use sand as a magic stone? Just send a whole blizzard.
A singular grain of sand
Yeah.
into someone's eye. Highly
Oh, pocket sand. Pocket sand.
Easy, Gara. Easy.
Michael, just double checking. We did say that this impending cloud had a certain resemblance to the mists
That's what I
that
thought.
surround the Mournlands, correct?
Yes.
So, my next question is actually to Tarzan specifically, not Alfie, Tarzan. Did Holiday give Silas back the disc with the schematic on it, or is he still working on that?
Schematic disk. Scheiße.
I
don't
believe you
remember.
did, because your next focus was on researching
Yeah, because
the
the book.
the necromantic research you were
Phylactery.
looking into.
Yeah.
So if Sila has this schematic, trying to put two and two together, he's going to try to see if this will tell him if there is a way to, because he's starting to put two and two together on the term bulwark and this mist that surrounds the Mournland. So he's trying to figure out if this can tell us how to turn that off. Dispel it, if you will.
Okay. So, if you'll recall, your possessions that you have on you are only essentially your immediate weaponry, and that's about it. So,
oh yeah, we got stripped.
you
Yeah,
wouldn't
we
necessarily
did.
have this on hand. You would have to strictly go off of memory.
Does
I
Ivara
would
still have
definitely
all
try
of
to
her
do that.
stuff?
Ivara, you have essentially your spell book, the clothes on your back, and that's it.
And rock.
And rocks.
And rocks.
So is there any languages or anything anywhere that we haven't been able to translate, or any etchings or anything like that that could maybe give us some information as to what the fuck is going on?
The only etchings you saw were on the giant door that you left behind from the room or layer of this temple that you emerged from.
Has anyone read what is on the door?
Everyone has entered this temple for the first time
Yeah.
as of these two moments that seemingly, well, to you, may have been completely set apart. They were simultaneous.
What language is on the door?
The sharks are
Well,
around
you're not
anyway.
there, so you have no idea.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you'd have to go back. Shaksa is around, yes. He is currently trying. She is currently trying to gather the several other Yuan-Ti pilgrims into just a safe space, and some have decided to go to their own respective prayer corners, looking at going by different temple statues. Yes.
And might I
sorry, Tarzan.
And might I suggest we inquire with the scaly people. What are they called again?
Yuan-Ti.
Yuan-Ti. There we go. The Yuan-Ti. If they have any knowledge of traveling with these types of environmental situations going on. Maybe they have underground passages or something of that nature. We could bypass this storm entirely. Or,
It's actually a very fair question, and we did make them wait an awful long time for us to come back out. We ought to go and be hospitable to begin with. Secondly, Alfie, that's actually a very good idea. Good job.
I think Alfie's looking for a reason to dig.
Gold
Now is a
star.
good time as any to take them up on that temple tour offer.
That's
Can I
actually
go
not a bad
look at
idea
the
either.
star-
The
the
temple
stonework
tour may
now?
actually give us some ideas as to what's going on. All right, then agreed. Everybody moving as a unit. Are we going to go find our friends and go on this little temple tour?
Well, seems like it's the only place we got to start right now.
I'll lead us on
Good
the
as
tour. Let's
any.
go.
Alfie,
I am so
Hang back.
absolutely horrified.
So,
remember, you're
Um,
sticking with me, and we don't blow up anything unless I say so. How many times I gotta remind
I'm
you?
not
of
trying to
the
blow
rules?
up anything. I just want to understand the stonework here.
It's a tour, Alfie. It's a tour. We're just looking.
since you all seem to be on a similar mindset of wanting to look for certain things, let's have a group investigation roll.
How delightful.
By the way, thank you for everyone who's tuned in tonight. We appreciate your tolerance of our chaos, as we do every week.
Organized chaos.
18.
Okay, so as I look at these wonderfully scrolling numbers, all right. So, Hokash, L, I guess we're calling you for short now.
Wait, this
and
is stonework, so I have advantage.
Ivara and
That's even worse.
not Alfie. The three of you will kind of be able to get the attention of Shaksa, and as she as they see that you are looking around, Shaksa addresses the three of you as just like, I see that this is your first time in this temple, so I shall be able to guide you to where you'll wish to learn more. As you can see,
This place is a seemingly never-ending wealth of knowledge.
And you do see that this is very much like a opened excavation, and not so much excavation, but more like an archaeological dig of sorts, with a few like hand-drawn maps and notes of the different statues and which gods they are revering. Some hallways identified as to certain kinds of temples for different places of worship, and as they show you, you kind of see that this is somewhat of an anomaly in terms of like a kind of temple, because there's no one religion here. There is almost all of them, all the ones that you are aware of, as well as shrines to druidic cultures and ones of dragon worship. It's not just Silver Flame or the Sovereign Host, but you also see um, from gods that are worshipped in the Eldine Reaches, gods that are worshipped by their lunar calendar, and even the taboo ones, the ancient demons and the overlords, the ones that are strictly meant not to be looked into.
Smash.
As well as the meanings behind the different dragon marked houses, and where those like they have their stories of the progenitor dragons of how this world came to be, and that is the one that is on focus the most. That's kind of like all over the place, that feels as if it's like a guiding point to each one. So as she just says to you, there are so many rooms of which many things can be learned or perhaps consulted if you are so spiritually inclined. But this temple is open for all those who seek answers.
Ellen will sort of be looking around, walking alongside, and just goes, how does a place like this even come to be? How'd all these people agree to build here?
A great mystery indeed.
It's almost
I
like
ain't
a
seen a
museum.
collection like this. It is. It's like a museum. Museum of every religion known in the world.
And some unknown.
At this time, Alfie is licking the stone wall, trying to get a sense of where the mineral that formed these rocks came from.
You see, we laugh, but that's actually what geologists do to differentiate different stones from bone specifically.
Yeah, because your tongue sticks to it if it's bone.
I would hope the walls aren't bone.
Oh no.
No.
Evan's like, no more crazy, please.
No, there is like limestone and concentrations of calcified gemstone, and nothing exotic, but very, very layered over ancient. You would have to be very careful to get through those layers to see the original wall or whatever has been engraved into.
It's like rock
Seems as a lot of
Neapolitan.
collection of dust has petrified over centuries. Yes, you, sir, in the back there, Silas.
So you had mentioned that there is information here about the dragon marked houses, and you also mentioned this person in particular said, yes, all languages or all religions known and unknown, and those two things kind of click together for Silas. So he wants to know if there would be information here on the now supposedly extinct House Vol.
Sure. Is this something you're going to just kind of look for yourself, or will you be asking?
I'll start myself, and if I'm not like oh, they don't use the Dewey Decimal System here. All right, then I'll ask for help.
Give me an investigation check first. You're going to be
Hokash will kinda
cross-referencing
have-
essentially the maps that they're looking at, and you do see that Hokash is looking at the maps as well that lists the Dragon Mark houses. So if you want to
Then-
use that as the help action, you're welcome to.
You
Yeah, I
bet
will.
your sweet ass I do.
Michael, I don't know if you saw, but Ivara, well, throughout the tour, is ritually casting comprehend languages, and she's going to be
There it is.
she is going to be taking in pretty much like anything and everything, but she is specifically going to be looking for anything that might sound familiar to her patron.
Gotcha. Okay. Silas, what did you roll?
A dirty 20.
Ooh, wonderful.
Filthy 20.
Yes, you will see that it's at one point you'd find a listing for a small shrine, at least seemingly small shrine entrance for House Vol.
That is where I am being led. Let's go.
Sure. So Hokash, if you're tagging alongside, you will see that there is essentially a hall of dragon marked houses. What's crazy to you is that this is very much a feeling of it's bigger on the inside. When you come through this temple, it is buried within this mountain, but you didn't realize like how layered it actually all is with the different ways that each and yes, it feels very much like a museum. Like this place was purposely put here to be a means of pilgrims arriving to a place, ironically, in a destination called the End World Mountains, or perhaps not ironically, perhaps purposefully. And over time, it seems more and more has been added. When that time was, though, is uncertain. You do pass the different Dragon Mark houses and their history, it seems. And you do come across Hokash, not Isaac, but Hokash. You do come across the one that you are familiar with, House Vidalis. You see the symbol there. Silas just passed. As you take a second, you do see that House Cannith has its dragon mark symbol. And then just to the left, seemingly through a darkened hallway, you find that familiar symbol of House Vol. And it looks almost as if it's been purposefully placed in this position, as if to kind of make sure that people just walk right past it, unless they're looking for it.
As Silas keeps walking and Hokash stops to look at this house, he's just gonna pat him on the back and cast Enhance Ability and give him Fox's Cunning.
Cool. So you give the Fox Cunning to Silas.
You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Advantage on intelligence checks.
Fantastic.
That being said, darkened hallway and kind of feels poetic in this moment. Silas raises his wand, kind of flicks it forward, and the tip of the wand lights up, and so does the skin underneath the bandages on his right arm as he uses his dragon mark to cast dancing lights down the hallway.
The lights kind of peel off of your mark, and like globules of light, just like a lava lamp, just kind of separate and then just start to float into the air.
Vibes.
So as you enter this particular temple, you see a much more defined version of the House Vol mark on the archway entering it. And it seems as though it's a progression through each hallway, you see a more elaborate, and until you finally see the fully developed version of it, which looks like two arched wings spanning outwards with a head, a demon-like head, and a long tail from taking from the bottom. You notice that the language that it is. Do you speak Elven or read it?
I do actually.
Okay, so you would recognize the language as Elven being used as the language to describe the different murals and artwork looking at the history of this particular house.
We're just taking it all in, going from one to the other, learning every little detail about the house that should not be.
Okay. I will pass this information along to you via a link that I will send you. I'm going to go back quickly to Ivara as you were ritually casting. And you're looking for anything in regards to your dragon patron.
Yes, Dragon Daddy.
Yeah, and you see eventually the temple regarding the dragon, the sovereign of law and lore, Orion, the patron of wizards and witches, a figure venerated by scholars and librarians, the god of magic as a tool for mortals to use. The Lawbringer, one of the several in the sovereign host. And as you see a artistic rendition, you see a familiar face in the human that is being portrayed as the avatar of this dragon. And by its name, Orion, you see it sitting calmly, just as you did in the desert, as if to be a means of providing knowledge, a teacher, a guide. It's a welcoming, familiar, almost familial type feeling you have with this picture now. And you see the different symbols that are used for representing this dragon, this god, this protector, this provider. And you see many depictions of courts and judges, but also moments of justice and moments of education and the intelligent liberation is a term that is used. There's also a darker moment you see. A moment that seems to be a blemish, but it is part of the history of this dragon's ascension into deity, into godhood. You see a moment where it is the bringing of magical knowledge to the ancient giants, the progenitor race of all creatures on this world, of which all creatures descended from, on a nation known as Zendrick. But it is that moment of bringing knowledge to the creatures that seems to culturally feels to be their downfall. Much like in any kind of myth of culture, when knowledge is brought forth from the god to its creatures, the knowledge ends up becoming the thing that is destructive to them in order for them to have free will. In this instance of this myth, it is known as Orion's folly.
So he's like the Prometheus of
Very much
this
so.
whole situation. That is so badass. Smash.
So you learn essentially that with knowledge comes a price.
And Ivar will take mental note of that. She just kind of sits there and just kind of stares at the wall. It almost kind of like she just is zoning out, taking in all of this, trying to really kind of understand as to why this patron came to her.
Right.
Kind of more getting a sense as to why me?
It's a good question to ask. And you're in the right place to do it. Okay. So I'm going to ask, what is Evan up to?
I have the sensation. But can Evan, looking at people starting to split off and look towards other things, can she look to the you said there was a section for druidic?
Yes. Indeed.
Can she just gently wander over there?
Absolutely. You head over to an area that looks at the druidic cultures and the different sects that come from there. You see that there are many listed. Druidism in the continent of Corvair originated, as you can see from these things, allegedly over 16,000 years ago, when a black dragon foretold of a great planar invasion. And in order to aid the mortals in repelling this invasion, this dragon taught the first orcs the bonds between the three dragons, the progenitors that created this very world, Eberron, as well as how to tap into that power and seal gates to other planes. The original ones calling themselves, appropriately enough, the gatekeepers, and continue to protect, to this day, invasions of aberrations from other planes. You see talk and then expanding of different cultures that come from it. The Ashbound, the Wardens of the Wood, the Green Singers, the Children of Winter. Deep within the ancient forests, even, a great pine tree that became awakened and declared itself to be a keeper and protector of all green life, calling itself Oalian. You see the lizard folk and the fae folk and even the drow among the ruins have become so ingrained in the druidic culture. And yet there's a bit of sadness to all this, because it seems as though so much of this culture has been lost to time, very much been replaced by the power struggle that those with dragon marks are able to come into the mainstream, as it were, of arcane culture. Whereas once a unification of the spiritual and the arcane were seen through Druidism, now the use of it in everyday life, the use of magic in everyday life, has somewhat put a damper on that culture.
I think she's going to try and take as much of this in because she really doesn't know a whole lot of this history. And yeah, I think she's more just trying to absorb what this is. It's
Well, I
what
will let
are
you
they?
absorb that knowledge with the link I
Yeah.
sent you.
Oh, I have
And you can
things.
use this as your resource of what you decide to discover in your time.
Yay.
And I just got a wonderful message from Matt.
Hokosh is also still reading the wall, just so you know. You
Cool.
can
I'm
skip over
going
that,
to
but...
I'm going to send you your house as well.
Yay!
I do not want to
Lore.
leave you out of the loop.
We love
That
we
would
love
be
being
bad.
in the loop.
So Hokosh, you show up at the temple that looks to be giving the history of House Vidalis, a human dragon mark house known to operate out of this continent of Corvair, but mainly known to be mostly on the western side. Fairly new in regards to temple, in regards to houses, appearing about 2,000 years ago, but mainly known for the breeding and training of animals. And known to be in the trade of what is called a booming trade, rather, mage breed animals. And I will send you your link of information.
Thank you.
Now we turn to Sheriff Ellen. What you doing, girl?
Ellen will have been sort of surveying as the party goes along, as she usually does. Her eyes kind of dart around when she takes stock of who's going where. And seeing as how she was wanting to know whether or not her artificers were going to find anything interesting, she has actually been following Hokosh and Silas down the same hall and has sort of been just monitoring over their shoulder as she's just letting her eyes kind of wander from house to house and letting her eyes sort of skim.
Give me a perception check.
Oof. 10.
10. Okay.
Mhm.
It's hard to keep a... There's so much. There's so much around you. What would be something, though, that you think would legitimately catch Ellen's eye if she saw it?
She's wandering around and she's been sort of looking over their shoulder, and she sees that Hokosh is caught up with the house that he's caught up with. She sees that Silas is caught up with the house that he's caught up with. And she's just sort of letting her eyes wander, and she gets this weird little ping in her gut when she comes across the title of House Daneth. And she gets a weird feeling, and she sort of gets drawn to it, and she almost just sort of like puts her hand up on it and just sort of runs it down with a look of confusion on her face, as she can't really identify what that gut feeling is.
You see the coat of arms of House Daneth. A lion's head, a ram's head, and a dragon's head. You see inscribed in a seeming like a note that seems to be like pinned to the wall. And there are a lot of these from different explorers and different pilgrims, as it were. But this one pops out into you particular because this is from Indira de Deneth, the Sentinel Marshal of House Deneth. Galifar lies in ruins, destroyed by its own folly. but our rights and duties cannot be set aside. Our oaths bind us still. Let those who would oppose the law know us and end their days in fear.
Ellen will be reading over this note, and she'll read it, and then she'll read it again, and then she'll read it again. And she just keeps falling on the same word. She keeps tripping over the same word. Oath.
Need you to make
Oath.
a wisdom saving throw.
Please be good. 23.
Usually
I needed to
when
roll.
your brain kind of gets spurred up with recycled information, it comes like a migraine attack. Like it starts in the back of your head and then just pushes the pain forward. But this time, you've recognized that small trigger and you concentrate. And now a memory begins to form. You go back to the war. House Deneath, you remember, refused to take sides. This house earned its status as a mercenary house during the war by offering soldiers to guide other nations. You remember being part of something called blade marks. It contracted its soldiers by selecting the battles to ensure that no Deneth forces would clash against each other. Never were you to fight against a brother in arms. During the war, though, a Siren general ordered his Deneth troops to assault a garrison guarded by other Deneth soldiers. You remember this being told to you in a debriefing of sorts by a human female general bearing the mark of the sentinel upon their hand, armored, with a sword by their side. The general became infuriated when the mercenaries refused the orders and retaliated by ordering Syrian troops to attack the Blade Mark traders. A word that stings in your memory. You remember this vision of being debriefed, you alongside other marshals. You remember troops being defeated as the Syrian hired House Dennis troops banded together with their comrades. And then you remember the actual battle, not the one that was just told about in reports. The ones where you had to make the hardest choice of your life to kill your own. You look around in that memory and you remember what Delilah told you. I know who you are, and I know what you've done, because I saw you do it.
Ellen
It
will
has
kind
been a
of.
long time since you've had to wash blood off of your hands. But you have always felt the faint copper smell that still resides on them, no matter how much you wash them and how many layers of gloves you put over them. It's like a deathly rust that you can't scrape off of your own skin. But the good news is you don't take any psychic damage.
It's just emotional.
Yay!
Dude, I have like goosebumps from that. Like, holy shit, that was saucy, and the sauce was extra hot.
Listen to
So Ellen will sort of, as she's walking around in her memory, she sort of lets her hand just kind of like fall off the wall, and it's extra heavy. And she's just sort of not staring at anything in particular, but almost staring through everything. And she keeps thinking about what Delilah said. And she thinks about fighting her own. And she gets a really weird gut feeling for a minute. And she keeps desperately trying to search in that memory for Delilah's face.
First of all, point of inspiration. Because, yeah. And then give me an intelligence roll with advantage.
Okay. Where is my... Oh, is it a saving throw? I'm sorry.
No, just intelligence. Straight.
Okay.
Roll twice, take the higher.
Intelligence. Am I blind? What?
Just your regular,
one of
just
your
the
six
modifier right below intelligence on your regular stats.
As Alfie's working on some of his contraptions, he bumps into Ellen not paying attention and accidentally casts guidance on her.
Oh, clever. So you can add a d4 to the whatever number you get.
Okay. 21 plus a d4.
Yes. I mean, it's going to be pretty good with just the 21, so.
Yeah. So that'll give me a 25.
Yeah. Fantastic. As you concentrate harder trying to now access this memory from the imagery you've seen inscribed in the text you've looked at in the different notes, the memory of being debriefed, and then that battle just before, moments before, the flash of arcane light that enveloped the entire nation of Seer. You see the firebrand weapon that you have used and still have no idea why you've been able to use it or how you summon it, pointed down as your foot holds down, stepping on the chest of another figure in battle. The flesh-toned and familiar but life-filled colored face of Delilah. As just before you pulled that trigger, the flash of light envelops the two of you. And that is the last thing you remember, truly, before waking up in the desert with only one name on your badge that identified you. Marshall Ellen. The second half of that name scratched out.
Ellen, what did you do? What did you do?
I'm a bitch with a backstory.
Oh my god.
And while
Ellen-
you absorb that knowledge,
I was going to say, are we done with my trauma?
Sister Mira, let's pan over to you.
Mira is taking notes of where the others have wandered off to. Prior to that, she kindly made a point to step between Alfie and Ivara and sort of just like, appropriate distance for the poor dear. But
Boundaries.
once
You
Boundaries.
smell him from here.
But once they seem to have found different focuses in mind, she wanders over to Sharksa and asks, "If I may borrow some of your wisdom for a moment.
Yes, please.
You and your people have dwelt in these lands that my body has never come across, but my mind seems to remember. During your time here, have you ever encountered an individual by the name of Mulad?"
Mulad. She jogs her memory for a bit. There have been many pilgrims of all kinds, mortals of all shapes and sizes and heritages. We do not try to attach too much to the names, but I do remember an individual who was very much interested in learning what this temple knew of the Kalashtar. If I am not mistaken, that is what you are?
You are not mistaken.
Yes, I seem to recall, I believe, an individual that went by that name, seeking out information, or rather, perhaps measuring this temple's against their own.
Measuring in what capacity?
They seemed to provide answers, filling in the gaps where pieces left behind may not have been able to tell the whole story, which to me is quite fascinating considering how old this place is.
Mhm. The history of many of these religions is vast, and I would not be surprised if pieces were lost to time, as they want to be, especially if those opposed them saw fit to rewrite what we call history now.
You are very wise.
Wise
May
and
I ask a question? If I do not, and I do not wish to impose such things that do not wish to be divulged, but I feel this place as good as any to be a safety sanctuary of secrets. Pardon my alliteration. You do not seem to be, as some have put it, country folk.
Ah, yes. I was sent to Wyrmwatch with a contingent from Shan.
Ah, the metropolis of the ages. A wonderful sight. One I have only seen once, but my goodness, my eyes did behold upon a wonder of architecture and society.
There are few places quite like home, though I must say my time here has been rather eye-opening, for better or for worse.
What do you find in your current residence that you did not find in that great city?
Mira's mouth sort of falls open as if to answer. And she needs to take a moment to consider that. For a city as large as Shan, with all its technological marvels and cultural ideals, it was only when I came here that I found my original teachings challenged to the point where I was able to better look into myself and what I found to be right and wrong. If that makes sense.
May I show you something?
Please.
She leads you in the direction of one of the areas where you see a holy symbol of a light glowing crystal, roughly triangular in shape. It's not one you're unfamiliar with. This is the symbol of the path of light.
Mm.
She points to it. I understand that the Kalistar follow this path of light, as it were. A not so much dogmatic symbolism, but more of a way of life. Do you see yourself as a follower of this path?
For a long time, I was taught in the ways of the church, largely based on due to how it seemed to be more acceptable, commonplace lifestyle. One could think of it as a slight deviation from the path, though it remains it's still withheld the attempt to walk on the lights, as all things cast and flame are. I look to it now and I see sometimes that fire burns in ways it should not need to. Going forward, I hope to return to the path of light.
You may want to reflect upon it here. Simply walking a path will not necessarily lead one to its destination. You must understand where the path originates in order to learn of where it can go. We are all simply vessels walking on this rock in space. And some of us may be on a path that they did not know deviated at some point. You never know what you may find.
She walks away, but politely understanding that this is a good spot for you to do some reflection. Would you mind making a religion check for me?
Where is it? There we go. Damn, that rolled off of a 16. That was only an 8.
Okay. So, your time away from this path of light, something you've only known as part of your culture, and it was the last thing that you had spoken about in that vision with the seemingly mysterious spiritual guidance. And nothing really you haven't already heard of popped out to you. But you do see at least one mention of what was described to you as the inspired. You remember in your conversation that perhaps you might be inspired, seemingly passive in its tone, and perhaps meant to be taken in a literal sense, but the idea of the inspired being a thing as part of this path of light culture sticks with you, at least in that instance. And now, if everybody could give me a collective perception check on what Alfie is doing. Just in case.
Shit!
This man decides
19.
to blow some
What is he
Did Ivara
doing?
roll with advantage since she's paranoid about him?
Yeah,
This is when I
absolutely.
roll low, of course.
Absolutely.
This is a 4.
Also, I just need
19.
to bring attention to how brilliant this lyric parody is. Very well done. That's fucking choice.
Mira is my
We all
that
need
would
a
be
little bit
a
more Aria in our
17
lives,
for me.
okay?
character I use to process my own religious trauma. So this is nice.
Absolutely.
This is an outlet.
This
This
is
is
me
me
I'm just gonna
processing,
say,
processing my old songwriting skills. This is what I do now with them.
I'm just gonna say that anybody who scored above a 10 is going to notice what Alfie is doing, which is what, Tarzan?
Hokosh is clueless.
So
Oh,
Alfie's
no.
got about like 3 or 4 different contraptions in his arms right now that he's working on all simultaneously. You can see he's taking little parcels of compound 4, jam-packing them into the contraptions, just essentially creating more grenades for his fucking grenade launcher. Arcane launcher.
Are you feeding those grenades like you're feeding the child? I'm worried about you. What are you doing?
I'm making ammunition.
Please do not do that inside the building, hun. I don't know what I'm more terrified of, being in a cave with you or being in this building with you.
I'm sorry, we can't currently work outside because there's a death cloud outside waiting for us to approach it at any moment. I prefer breathing at the moment, and I find working.
And
within
Alfie, I
stone
prefer
structures
living
is
at the
quite
moment. Can we
relaxing.
not work on explosives inside of an enclosed space?
I will have you know, I'm a professional demolition expert. I know what I'm doing. And as he says that, 3 of them tumble out of his arms and he catches them.
Ivara is literally just like, you see her like zoom back, like hitting the wall behind her. Like she is
You
just
see a
like,
few of the Yuan-Ti pilgrims just kind of politely take a step back and go to a more secure corner of the temple.
for the love of God, Alfie, put those down before this whole place goes up in flames.
If it was as volatile as you claim to believe, then the 4 grenades that I currently have in my pack right now that are jumbling around loosely would have gone off a long time ago. Along
Alfie,
with the
darling, I
10
thought you
pounds
said
of-
you were a professional. Why are your grenades not properly stored?
He said he knew what he was doing. I don't think he said he was a professional. It's a big difference.
Look, you know what you're doing. You should know how to
staring
put
at the
grenades in a goddamn sack properly.
I mean,
Natasha
we are
in the corner
talking about the
staring at the
same
wall.
individual who stored 10 pounds of compound 4 in his pack that was seemingly wet, which was possibly creating nitroglycerin, which would be a very much more volatile explosive. Oh yeah, you weren't here for that. That was a thing.
I swear you're going to be the death of me, Alfie.
The most bombastic side eye.
No pun intended.
But no worries, things should arise. I do have a shield spell prepared. It'll be perfectly contained. It's nothing I haven't endured myself before. At most, you'll lose an eyebrow. I mean, that's easily fixed with Sister Mira here, I think. Maybe. No, don't know. Sister Mira, can you repair lost hair? This is a good question.
For
I've lost
others,
my eyebrows about 6 times now.
lost hair will grow back.
That's fair.
in the healer's words, you want me to heal you? Why?
Like,
Anyway,
he still has a beard at this point, if I'm being honest.
no, their beards are resilient. Okay, they take a beating on a regular.
Does it add +5 to your DC?
What is the floor in here? Is it stone or is it dirt?
It is stone. Yes.
Okay.
Like stone covered with, dirt from sand coming in and out.
Okay. All right. That's fine.
There are some wooden planks that have seemed to have been set up in order to kind of access other walled areas that have either had stairwells broken off, and you see scaffolding that kind of allows for other areas. They're not the most safe, but there's certainly a means to get up to the higher areas or taller statues, as it were.
Okay.
Ivar is still
And
flat.
for some reason, Alfie's getting a little hairy, wiry, and
He's already
on an
hairy.
I was going to say, how much more than usual?
Impulse.
Because you're already kind of a wiry individual.
On an impulse, he casts detect magic, trying to
Okay.
see if there's he just wants to see another view the world through another plane of perspective. I mean,
You cast detect magic. And surprisingly, you realize this place is a bit devoid of it, at least within the immediate 30-foot area that you're looking through. And as you kind of like hold on to this, walking around looking for any kind of school of magic or anything, it takes a bit of time until eventually you kind of ping yourself towards that area that Ivara got out of, and you can sense conjuration magic.
Oh,
closer the more you look towards down the stairwell that she came from.
okay. He's not even going to say anything. He's going to go and investigate it further.
And you all watch Alfie go down the stairwell that Ivara came up from.
Hokosh is staring at the wall.
I would say
I rolled a nat
Helen's
one. I'm
been there
very
with her trauma.
very cautiously, follow Alfie, but she's keeping a solid 20-foot radius. Oh, wait,
And then
she's.
As he's walking down the stairwell, he's just lobbing the grenades over his shoulder, and it lands perfectly in his pack, one by one.
Ivara, every single time, he's tossing one, she is wincing, just being like, I can't believe I'm freaking doing this.
I'm not going to make you roll for that because I'm just going to trust that someone like Alfie would have done this before, because the repercussions of that could be incredibly terrible. So let's just say
Roach is writing new
everyone's safety and so that no one dies.
A pound of C4 has the same yield capacity as 10 sticks of dynamite. It would obliterate everyone.
Some explosives research before after the last session, just for your ass. Okay, so
It is, and I got 10 pounds of that shit.
yeah, so much math.
Honestly, I'm glad that Edgar is not here, because I feel like Edgar sparks just the most horrific inspiration in Alfie.
So eventually, one by one, you do kind of all see that this erratic dwarf has been poking around with his magic detection spell, as it were, and he's kind of yeah. I imagine Alfie actually making the radar ping noises with his mouth, out loud, as he senses it. And then eventually, as you get to that stairwell, you do all hear Alfie just going "Ba-da-ding, ba-da-ding, ba-da-ding."
I do believe he's done something.
Ivara's like, I swear to God, this dwarf has lost his damn mind. What is it, Alfie? What do you smell, boy?
Did Timmy fall down the whale?
I love Alfie so much.
Ever since you've explained Alfie was inspired by the mole from Atlantis, like
Atlantis. I now just
I
see
feel
our
like
party
Alfie's
as the Atlantis
fish
party.
like
Not gonna lie.
mascot slash
Yeah.
ghost pet.
You don't want to know. I asked. Now I know. And I don't want to know.
It's perfect.
I think Ellen, who will have been sort of like having one hand on her stomach and sort of like is swirling inside with all of her own trauma and guilt now apparently, will like hear Ivara yelling at Alfie, hear Alfie making weird noises, and she'll just immediately go, oh hell, and she'll just start stomping her way back out into the main area, and she's just gonna look at Ivara, who's looking at Alfie, and just be like, Alfie,
Help.
what in the nine hells do you think you are doing?
And he'll turn to you, and you'll see his eyes are glossed over with a arcane blue, or not glossed over, but enveloped in an arcane blue energy. I don't know. There's magic back this way, and I wanted to look at it.
Does any of this involve your C4?
No, I just finished working on my grenades.
She'll look at Ivara. She'll look at Ivara and want the truth.
Ivara's gonna just look at Ellen and she goes, honestly, if I didn't know better, by looking in them eyes, I thought Alfie was about to explode for a second, especially with him making them beep beep noises. Like, that's a little horrifying. It sounded like a countdown to me. I don't trust anything this little man says.
Ellen will then start like just striding over to Alfie, and she's just gonna stand right over him and look deep into his blue eyes and be like, are you about to blow up? I swear.
And then Ivara's gonna quickly like clarify. She goes, darling, I can tell you right now that's detect magic. Like I said, if I didn't know better, I would think Alfie should blow himself up.
You're gonna see Alfie get physically shaken with with frustration that you guys constantly think he's about to blow shit up when he's just fucking inquisitive. He's like, by the nine hells, I am just investigating. I got inspired. I got inspired. And I wanted to investigate the environment. I don't know what.
You hear one you want to just go.
Alfie, darling, the last time you investigate anything in the middle of the desert, I always hear an explosion at least 10 minutes after.
I haven't blown anything up for 12 hours. I am on edge.
All of the pilgrims just go.
All right.
Laura's gonna start ritually casting compose. I think is it compose self or
Calm emotions.
Calm emotions.
I think it might be calm emotions. I think it's either compose self or calm emotions. Give me a moment, but she will start. Hold on, give me a second. I need to read the spell, but
Right
If
now,
I didn't know that,
Alfie's
though.
with
smoking.
a magic.
If
set.
anyone was about to explode, I believe it might be you, Ellen. Please, Sheriff, your blood pressure. And she just puts a hand on Ellen's shoulder and just like lightly moves her away from Alfie.
You're
Everyone's
right.
on edge.
You're right.
There's a
We're all on
sandstorm
edge.
outside. This is an unusual place to be. Relax.
there's a sandstorm outside, and we're caught in here with a madman who is itching to blow something up.
It would be real bad. That's right. It would be real bad. She looks at Mira and she just is like real serious in her eyes. Like, it would be really, really bad if he blew shit up in here, right? I can't let him do that. I'm not
gonna blow anything up.
sheriff, Mira. I'm supposed to. Alfie!
Excuse me, scaly people. What time is it, please?
Alfie! Language.
Who's sobbing? Is that in character?
God damn. You see the patience of Shaksa very much running thin as she just politely comes up to you and says, my friend, we would just ask in kindness that you keep your enthusiasm to a more tolerable level for the rest of the pilgrims here.
My apologies. To offer my condolences. I'll offer you a pound of compound for us. A
No.
composition I
She
created.
just
my own
puts
design.
she folds your hands
No,
onto it
no.
and just said
And I mage hand that off of him.
he will notice like everyone is ready to just like she just goes, "It's okay, I've got this." It's it. My dear friend, your gifts belong to you, for you are the only one who knows how to use them. And you can see she's like trying to bullshit her way out of this. Like it's just
This is yes, giving explosive to somebody with no explosive experience would be detrimental to a lot of people. Anyways, back to my original question. What time is it?
and she just pulls out a timepiece because it's not uncommon tech. It's
I seem to have left
close. It's close to a bit after midday.
Shit. Oh dear. Oh no.
Oh
What's
God.
the matter?
Oh God.
Alfie, I don't like the sound of that. What's wrong?
I have a new composition that I've been working on, scheduled to detonate at 12:30 today, and I'm not there to observe.
Detonate? To detonate where?
Oh, please, grated cheese, please be okay. Oh dear. Oh no. He's
This is not answering.
Grated cheese?
Where? Where?
You see that now all of the pilgrims have just kind of decided to be like and they're just pointing to a very far sheltered corner.
Rest assured, the new
Not even
composition
just
I'm working
making eye
on.
contact. They're just like walking like, yep. That's
Oh, this is my research is going to. My research is for nothing. Grated cheese, please record the data. Oh no. Oh,
I swear to God, he's lost his mind. The
Alfie,
man is
Alfie,
blowing
are
stuff
you-
up in the middle of the desert and talking about grated cheese. What the hell is going on?
Alfie, are you talking about back home?
Yes. I have a new composition that I've been working on for quite some time. I call it nitroglycerin. No, that's not right.
What?
Nitroglycerin?
How do you know about my studies?
Medics use that for those who find it difficult to breathe.
Oh shit. All right, I gotta come up with a new name, but for now we'll just call it nitroglycerin.
In fact, it is kept in emergency trolleys.
Yes, I left it. It's on a time schedule. That's why there's a systematic explosion every few hours back at Wyrmwatch. Grated cheese is my assisted living automaton that he serves me cheese and wine, keeps my stress levels out low.
God.
And I haven't had cheese or wine in 12 hours, and I'm stressing out. Can we go back to the magic? And he turns around instantly and just starts walking back towards the magic that he was.
Is this a standard? Is this regular? Is
Evan,
this always?
Evan, darling, unfortunately, and I do mean unfortunately, this is a lot even for him.
Okay, I was just wondering, like, if this was very commonplace, like if this was, and it got more from here.
I think he's about to crack. Ivara, honey, do you think maybe two eyes on him at all times, double team? Okay.
Darling, you don't gotta ask me twice. I already got the eyes on the back of my head watching him as well as the eyes in the front of my head.
Duly noted. I'll do
And
the same
also, am
thing.
I the only one who's sitting here thinking he's just talking to an old block of just steamy, stinky cheese? Like, I feel like that man's lost his
I
fucking noggin.
said
okay?
he's an assisted living automaton. He's my therapy droid.
You go to therapy, Alfie?
No, I have a droid that therapizes me as I'm doing my studies.
Ivara,
I
imagine
want
him
everybody
off
to roll
therapy.
insight. I want everyone to roll insight on this.
Can I use my passive 17?
Good gravy.
That is
That
a
was
19
another,
plus 3 for a 22.
6.
Tarzan,
She doesn't
you
know what an
don't have to
automaton is.
Tarzan, you do not have to tell me which one you're rolling, but you can roll persuasion or deception. Just tell me the number.
Michael, I'm still staring at the wall and focused on Silas because I rolled another nat one.
Wow, you must have learned some stuff.
Kosh is
Michael,
engrossed.
what did
He
I
is
learn?
Engrossed in
Oh,
his
no,
reading.
you learned what you learned, but how it's affecting you psychologically, that's all apparently what these nat ones are.
Hokash is
18.
a poet lost
An
in the art
18,
gallery.
okay. So, as far as any of you know, Alfie has has a assistant, a mechanical assistant.
Grated cheese.
So he has an is that like a friend?
Honestly, it might be the
Well-
only friend Alfie has.
Of which
And
you
Alan
see
just sort
Alfie
of, like,
has now descended
tilt.
down the stairwell.
Ibarra is immediately following. She is not leaving him alone. Like she's like, "Oh, excuse me, I gotta make sure he doesn't blow up anything down here." And she is just gonna start following Alfie.
Ellen will do the same. She'll just sort of look at Evan and be like, yes, this is in fact worse than he usually is. She's sort of like walking backwards, kind of like get to the.
And
This
we're
is in fact
walking,
much,
we're talking,
much
we're taking
worse
care of this.
than he usually is. I'm going to go help her. But I promise he is not going to blow anything up. We are not as crazy as we seem. And with that, she's just going to spin around. It's like,
I love how we've become the designated babysitters of the explosive artificer.
it's how Ibarra and Ellen bond. They bond.
Yes, we trauma bond.
There's a trauma
trying
bond.
to-
Silas, as everyone is going back, you realize that it's just you and Hokash really kind of being dumbfounded at this moment of what you are looking at and learning about your respective choice of dragon mark houses, while the rest of the group has gone to follow their explosive buddy. What? Okay, first off, if Hokash was looking at Silas, what would he see, Silas?
Silas is currently, at this point, when Hokash would look at him, see him. He had done a circuit of the room, and like when he got to the end, kind of paused for a moment, confused, and he's been probably through this room, through all of the events between Ellen finding her things and Alfie maybe not blowing shit up. This entire time, Silas has probably been through this room a few times, and he is currently paused in front of a mural of a
what? A what? He froze.
I said A, and then I just saw a centipede.
Oh,
across
talk
my floor.
about it takes a DM to really know when to make your internet glitch at the most appropriate time.
Right?
Oh, anticipation.
Artificer
Somewhat-
controlling the internet.
Can we also say that Alfie has apparently invented the very thing that created the Nobel Prize in American history? Okay, there you're back, Silas.
yeah.
We
lost
saw
the internet
the
for a
last
moment.
thing you said was that you were looking at the mural and that's where you froze.
Right.
Great cliffhanger, by the way.
Yeah, fantastic.
Tune in next week.
It's my line.
Don't you dare do that.
Okay, so he is looking at this. He's looking at this mural that has a woman seeming to have some sort of conversation with a green dragon. And he's just kind of paused there, holding, looking over this, and if you could perceive it, there would be steam coming out of his ears.
Choo choo.
And Hokash, if Silas was looking at you, what would he see?
Hokash is just very enthralled with the entire thing, and kind of like as he's reading, he is taking off this respirator thing and kind of fidgeting with it because he always has to be doing something, and he's just like trying to find the nitty gritty details, but isn't finding what he's looking for. So he kind of like pauses and finishes working on this respirator, kind of clips it back on his face, like hooks it around his head, and then starts just working his way over to Silas.
And Silas, you see the familiar Simic hybrid individual come up to you.
Silas is just focused on this mural and the information in front of him, and just shaking his head.
Hopefully you found some more information than I did on my knowledge search.
Those fucking bastards. And Silas is going to turn and leave the House of Vol shrine area and look for a different one.
Okash's intel.
Which I do believe, based off of your description earlier, should be the shrine right next to it.
House Kenneth. You come across the coat of arms, House Kenneth, a mechanical-like bull face with an anvil atop of it, a hammer engraved inside of it. The symbols of workmanship and craft. A gorgon is its house symbol. The bull-like creature covered in iron plates. This is the house known for innovation, for advancements in arcane technology. Creators of the Lightning Realm, the means of which nations were connected. But they are also known as, allegedly, the originators of the Warforged heritage. It is as though the world dare not draw breath for fear that delicate balance should shift and fall, and a new day of mourning fall upon us. You see, in a note left by House Cannith chronicler Jarlin de Cannith. You see the symbol of House mark of making, a mark that grants various magical benefits to infuse items with magic or even repair them, making the artificer industry even possible. What are you looking for right now?
Well, based on this information that I was so handedly given, I'm looking for information of House Cannith, particularly starting around the year negative 2600, and if this was like a Google search, keyword dragons.
Some 2,500 years ago is when the mark of making made its appearances on artisans and craftsmen of ancient sire. And this is where Clan Cannith was created initially. They worked with Relish half-elves who became House Madani. And they worked with other houses, eventually emerging as a superpower. They helped House Randar create the first elemental sea vessels, being able to go across skies in ships originally crafted for water. They helped in the advancement of messaging with House Civis, with their many message stations, one of which a small one located in your town of Wyrmwatch. But wherever a house or a nation failed, House Cannith was ready to clean up the mess, as it were, reap the benefits, under the guise of rebuilding, and under the premise of renewal. Or at least that is what these murals are presenting. Whenever one house falls, House Cannith builds itself upon it. Wars would come and go, and House Cannith provided to whoever needed. And eventually, it came to pass that beyond the airships, the galleons, the very ever-bright lanterns that illuminate this hall, the single greatest machination, the Warforged themselves. An entire artificial race of living constructs. And you see this history of their development being in the different murals painted, beautifully painted and engraved across the walls. Starting out in these gargantuan forms until ultimately being able to be made more modular and smaller and humanoid, resembling many mortals, only being able to be identified by a singular name, a name which usually came with their purpose, each forged with a symbol on their head, a rune, the Gulra, unique to each, giving a sense of individuality, but in turn identifiable by their creators. And you see that they were purposefully made to stop at a certain amount. No one knows why that particular number. This has been debated over, but there was meant to be a cap. And you see all these different notes that are scrawled across and from different researchers and pilgrimages that come by. 10,000. No more, no less. This was the number that would turn the tide of destiny. And so it was. As they were the turning point at Whitehearth in Sire. The first forge hold, created by one Aaron de Cannith, son of Merix de Cannith, the current Baron of House Cannith, said to have advanced his own father's creation by giving the one thing the Warforged hadn't had up until that point: sentience, self-awareness. One that some say was then stolen by his own father, when Aaron protested what he saw as the abuse and enslavement of his creations, but pleas that were ignored. And you see a portion of history being detailed of the exile of Aaron, formally disinherited from his own house, and following this expulsion, disappeared. His fate remaining a mystery. Neither a diviner nor an inquisitive have been able to find any trace. But it's not so much seen as a blemish on his father's record, but rather a blemish on the house as a whole. For why would one try to question their own creator's creator? This is where the debate notes you see begin. Arguments over who was at fault, the true purpose of these sentient creatures brought into this world. Were they there to be a new form of life, to enjoy this planet's resources? Were they simply meant to be a tool to stop a war started by someone, something? One note you see in particular: war is good business for those that provide the weapons. Unmarked, no name attached. And as you reach the different murals, you spot it. You see a shape, a model, if you will, carved out of the stone of a much smaller scale than when you originally saw it. Familiar nonetheless. A deep, twisting cavern. A pool in a crater-like formation, of which something, or someone, or a new entity could be forged. A creation forge. Same which of model you saw on one of the schematics, and in the very cave that essentially made you go insane for a brief time. They say there was never more than one. And you can draw whatever conclusions you will. But the proof is only what you can remember. And with that thought, we're going to take a break.
I hate you, but I love you.
Our second half
The
of
timing.
this discovery. We'll be right back,
this-
everybody,
so
in
saucy.
about 10 minutes' times. We will see you on the other side. And welcome back. Just as we like to do every time, a reminder that our programming lineup grows more and more with each passing week, it seems, as we not only have my game, Matt's game, that guy over there's game, no, Isaac's game. We also have Tarzan's game, the Holiday Rogues Gallery, and coming soon, a possible brand new game, one that we've been playing on Discord ourselves, but featuring Chris, aka Claybeard Chris, the creator of these wonderful custom items that you can also have. So be on the lookout for that. And the rest of this week, of course, we're still trying to figure out all of our like consistent programming lineup, but we're thinking of having our alternating with Isaac's game, our 2B Dice Talks, where we get together and we just talk about the games that we've been running and stuff in general, just kind of like a vibe hang. And we will be able to get all of you in on it as well when we are putting together giveaways and we are putting together all sorts of fun interactive elements that you can be part of. So please stay tuned. The only way to find out is by watching, and the only way to watch is by doing so here or on demand on our YouTube channel, which is all the same handle. You can find us everywhere online at 2B Diced ADV. Speaking of the adventure that ADV stands for, let's continue ours. As Silas and Hokash, gathering yourselves together, realizing that perhaps maybe Alfie might be starting more trouble than he is necessarily known to at this
I'll
time.
have you know, he's exercised extreme restraints in starting this damn excursion.
Regardless. You all eventually and inevitably make your way down to the very room that Ivara emerged from. And what you all see, now with a more concentrated effort, a large and empty, but not really remarkable hall. The only thing really noticeable towards the end of it is a very large door. And behind this door, unknown, but a faint green ethereal glow seeming to escape from the opposite side in the divide and underneath. It's ever so faintly. And a large seal lock right down the center of it. Engraved on it from the top to the bottom of the doors, a language none of you have ever seen before.
Even with comprehend languages?
Even with comprehend languages.
Alfie scurries up to the door, inspecting this large construct of a lock, taking in the noticeable markings all over the door, not any language that he's particularly familiar with or has studied with his supposed time with the Merchants Guild. He seems baffled by the calligraphy, but he looks at the lock mechanism itself, and as he does, he holds a hand out to his side, where he currently has, or he holds out a satchel at his side, which currently was his tinker's tools that he was using to create the grenades that he was working on. He gives it a little shake, and tools go from like heavy duty sounding tools to a very light clinking, like little knickknacks and devices. And as he shakes it vigorously one last time, it unfolds into a thieves toolkit. And he looks into the lock a little closer. According to these runes all over this door, which I cannot read, I'm going to assume it says don't enter, but there is magic on the other side of this door, and I am quite curious as to what is emanating that magic. So I say fuck it. And, and he pulls out a set of lockpicks and goes to town on this fucking door.
Alfie,
Fantastic.
have you checked first whether it's locked or not?
Say again?
Have you checked whether it's locked?
This is a good question.
Do you want to just maybe...
Is there a handle on this door?
Tell me,
That's
have
my
your
dog
tools
size one.
already touched the lock?
No, not yet.
Okay. You see no handle. All you see is
Okay.
simply that this mechanism.
Is there
is
anything that looks
barricading it.
familiar?
This is the most unique thing any of you have probably ever seen.
Does the metal used to create this, that houses this lock mechanism, is that familiar? Like the type of metal that is found within Eberron, or?
It looks unlike anything you've ever seen in regards to stonework, alloys, metallurgy. This is beyond, but exciting.
Ivar is going to
It-
start ritually
it is
casting
exciting.
Identify.
It is exciting.
You raise your hand
As-
to cast Identify, Ivara. And as you do, you can feel that energy ready to translate to discover, and then suddenly, like your hand just hits a wall, even though it's not physically there, you just stop. And the spell just dissipates.
My magic doesn't work on this door. It's almost like it's completely keeping whatever magic is in there and keeping whatever magic is out here out of it.
Might have assumed with the unfamiliar calligraphy all over this door that there was some type of anti-magic field around this. I don't know. Maybe this is a good possibility. I don't recognize this language. You don't recognize this language? Because I don't recognize this language. No?
No, not even not even comprehend languages is doing anything. I can't read shit on here.
I'm feeling a little
Maybe it's a code or something.
I'm feeling a little inspired. I'm gonna exercise my mind and my hands to deal with this contraption. And as I do, I cast guidance on myself, and I go to town on this bad boy.
Oh
Okay.
boy.
You bring yourself to the lock, and I need you to give me a dexterity saving throw.
Woo!
Oh fuck.
You think it was going to be that simple?
Oh,
That's gonna be oh boy. Where's my dexterity? That's gonna be a 5 plus
oh,
2.
oh my
7.
god! Oh,
Excuse me one moment while I get some dice.
Uh-oh. Alfie goes flying.
Alfie, why? Why?
Somebody be oh my god, if Alfie goes flying with all those grenades in his bag. I ain't catching him.
I said someone. I didn't say you or me.
Whoever
Listen,
catches him is probably gonna blow
Alfie
up on
also
impact.
has Featherfall. He can use it. It's fine.
In the
I mean-
instance that your tools touch the runestone, you all see a spark emanate from Alfie's tools of this arcane energy, and the force then pushes him and launches him back right into the wall, and you're going to take 19 points of bludgeoning damage as
Oh.
your body
Can
just.
Hokosh catch him?
Oh,
I mean,
no,
you
no,
can
no,
try,
no need.
but he is like being shot.
I was gonna
like a
say,
cannon
can-
off that
can-
wall.
No, Featherfall.
That's fine. Hokosh is using his metal
Sure.
arm and gonna catch him.
Okay.
Listen.
Ellen will also be trying
Listen.
to assist her Posh and
Listen.
I'll
I'll say that
Reaction.
about-
Featherfall.
Hokosh,
All right.
Hokosh doesn't know you have Featherfall.
You guys need to chill out. Featherfall.
I will
Jesus.
say I will allow this to happen this way. Instinctively, because you are a very helpful person, Hokosh, you reach out with your metallic arm to attempt to cushion the blow, but you realize that Alfie, having been in
Done
this
this
kind
before.
of situation before, where explosive reactions have propelled him back, using a Featherfall token, he instantly is able to just kind of like, maybe like there's like a few split seconds of where he is just propelled, whoa, and then you just see him slow. And here's the thing. I will say, because of the reaction, you will only take 4 points bludgeoning damage.
Okay, that's fair. So as this happens, you all hear "Woo!" And as he goes flying backwards past all of you, he instantly woo, and he looks back, seeing a metal arm that was about to potentially impale him
No,
behind him, potentially. Hokosh, you're quite the gentleman. Quite reactive you are. But this is by far nowhere near the amount of times I've blown myself up. That big of a deal.
Elfie, I
I'm gonna
wasn't
go-
worried about you. I was worried about these lovely women with us. Now watch yourself.
I'm gonna go back to that door. And he runs
Yvara
back up.
is going to immediately just grab as Alfie's running by, she's just gonna grab his head, just keep him from going any closer. And she's gonna hold on there, Alfie. Give me a moment, let me take a look at this. And she's going to just inspect the seal to see if I can figure out the shape, if there's anything in the room that could fit in the puzzle piece.
Give me an investigation check.
While you're doing that, Mira is also going to go up to the door and sort of not drag her hands, but lightly float her hands atop the calligraphy. And will use divine sense to see if she can detect any good or evil radiating from within.
Okay. So with an 18, Ivara, you take the time to kind of just look through it all and see if perhaps there's some sort of key element to it, or if if there are individual pieces, and you kind of see that it's kind of clockwork in nature, but with stone instead of metallic gears, and it's almost like a very archaic type of ancient timepiece if in there. Sister Mira, as you're trying to identify what kind of energy surrounds this, you're used to something having an innately good or an innately evil feeling, and what's odd about this is that this is perhaps the very first time you have ever felt something be truly neutral. But there is power behind this. Ivar, if you could just give me an intelligence, a regular flat wisdom roll.
Flat wisdom? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, now you said this is like, it looks like almost like a old clock, right?
Yeah, it's got
That
like
is in...
interconnecting pieces that kind of resemble gears in a kind of like, if they were to tick, you would know where they went.
That is a straight 18. I was going to actually have Avara go up and see if she could shift or move this to see if it's like a combination lock.
So as you try that, you're looking at it and just trying to figure out, maybe does one piece interconnect? And you remember what Orlon said before leaving. What was that? When the time is right? Right. When you and the others are ready, you will know when the time is right to pass through this door.
When the time is right. Is there... Okay, so... Is there any way Ibarra can like read this clock? Can she figure out like that she's able to figure out it's like a clock of sorts?
So far, you've gotten that far, and that has been, with the two rolls that you've done, the extent of what you've been able to figure out.
Okay.
If anyone else is looking in the immediate room for anything, you're more than welcome to make perception or investigation.
Is there anything that would show, like, in the room that would show, like, a timer? I could roll a history check if I need to. Was there anything in the temple? Was there anything in the temple that...
Well, I think that's what we're about to find out with everyone else's perception. So far, you've gotten this part down. Nailed it.
Snailed it.
Oh.
Ooh.
There is a 24 on perception.
23. Woo. God damn. Okay, so Ellen, Mira, as you're looking around, just trying to, you hear that, Ibarra is like saying like, oh, it's might be some sort of clock, or it seems like a timepiece of sort. You start looking for things that may match up or identify like instructions or perhaps some sort of pattern. Yes, Isaac, you can roll Arcana as well. So you start to look around. Evan, your poor sweet summer child soul is just kind of like, what the hell is going on? Damn, Isaac, that's 20 for 26. I will get to that in a second. So yeah, you start looking for things that might have to do with like time or some sort of direction of time, or what is going, what is. And then you remember Alfie was asking for the time of day. And they said it was about midday, a little after midday. And you try to recall what day of the week it actually is. putting some ideas together of like when things were happening, what day it was, and what season you even felt like it was in at this point. You realize that today is the 13th is the 13th of the month. 13th
Friday the 13th.
day of the third month of the year. So you know at least 3 numbers, or 2, a 1 and a 3 may be involved in somehow.
Okay. So how does this mechanism look? Like
Very much like you can manipulate the pieces by hand to match up, and I would say with the help of from those numbers from Mira and Ellen, that you do realize that the grooves in it match up to essentially like a lunar clock, meaning because the months of the year are based on the 12 moons that surround this planet, you would be able to move pieces to match the time and date that this day is, if you needed to like maneuver the pieces.
First, I have to say it's totally giving like the library vibes from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I love it. Ivara is going upon
Don't spill all my secrets.
Upon those numbers being brought up, Ivara is going to take the numbers and move it to 13 to see if that does anything.
So you maneuver so that it matches up essentially to this date, and what you hear is a click, and essentially one portion, the outer ring of this mechanism, opens up and is unlocked, and now inside you see another secondary, similar but more defined kind of calendar dial.
Is there an infinity symbol on it?
Damn, you're good. You love when players pay attention. You turn the dial and you look for something that may match up, and you realize that 2 of the points on like in a 4-quadrant section each make a curve, and when 1, 2, 3, and 4 quadrants line up in a specific way, they do in fact make a figure 8 infinity loop. Once those pieces then connect, you hear that lock unlock itself again, the last part showing up with one center piece in the middle. It seems to resemble a type of key.
Wait.
Like a hole for a key.
Like a hole for a key. Didn't we get a key at some point? Or am I mistaken? I need to check my notes. Hold on.
Inventory check.
Inventory check.
AJ, if you're listening, did we get a key?
Did we get a key, KJ?
We got a key. I don't have it. I just checked.
If anyone wants to do an investigation on the actual, I'll let Silas take this one.
Might as well use this advantage that I was given. Thank you very much, Mr. Hokosh. We're also going to guidance ourselves, because why not? Let's just make sure that we get all the things.
Stack them points.
27.
27. You are very in tune right now with realizing, once you realized this is a puzzle essentially, and you do love a good puzzle. a multi-tiered lock like this does have remnants of very ancient giant technology of those days, especially with it being in stonework of sorts. For it to be arcane unlocked, that means there was some sort of magical knowledge involved. And with the centerpiece finally being a key piece, literally, you take a look at the dimensions and the shape of it, and you realize that it is circular in form just by entry. But as you kind of like line your fingers in on the style inside, you realize that the shape inside, a 6-pointed star.
Our sheriff badges. Our freaking sheriff badges.
Well, that would work.
I do believe Ellen should take point on that one. Sheriff?
Yeah, I see that. And she just sort of clips hers off. Well, she looks back at everybody. Here goes nothing.
If it's
I
any
suppose-
consolation, I don't sense anything malicious coming from that door, but there is a old power behind it.
Well,
Well,
I
something
prefer to
tells
remain
me-
skeptical, seeing as how last time we were poking around someplace underground like this, we got blipped into nowhere. So,
Well, maybe we
There you
got
go.
blipped here for a reason, so let's open
she'll
this
just
baby
sort
up.
of casually put her star where it needs to be.
You place it inside, and you feel it almost magnetically pop out of your hand and lock into place. The rest of you see that center point of that keyhole now glow, and then follow the light now follow the grooves and patterns that were left open from the lock, as the door itself makes a shake, and the ancient dust that surrounds the perimeter of this door rattles down as you all are able to take a step back as the doors towards you open up. And on the other side, all you see is a very bright green ethereal light. But the time that the light passes over your eyes and washes over you, you are able to see that there is some sort of area on the other side. And I will share with you the image of what you will be seeing once you pass through that door, should you decide.
Smash.
Well, no
Oh,
time's
gosh,
better than
that's true.
right now. Let's go, shall we? And Alfie and Hokosh go in.
Ivara's just gonna slowly walk in, kind of just muttering to herself, just like, whenever the time's right, I guess.
Evan, I'm
Don't
curious.
worry, grated cheese. I'm on the way.
Do you hesitate? Do you stay behind? Or do you follow through?
Well, we got this far with them. Might as well follow it through. It can't get that much worse, can it?
Would you ever say that?
Gets so much worse.
Need all
Does
of
Evan
us.
still have their eyebrows? If Evan still has their eyebrows, they should be fine.
Need all of us as players to agree right now that no matter what happens, Evan makes it out alive.
Yep.
Gotta
tell
reunite
our
Evan with
story.
the plot.
Evan
I'm here
deserves
for
better
it.
than this.
Yes. Evan
This
just showed
poor
up here and was
precious
like, "What are
being has
y'all
been
doing?"
thrown into this chaos
And as you pass
that is
through these
Wyrmwatch, aka Wormwood.
doors- well, I don't really want to be associated with them right now. Good, but that's a whole so you pass through these doors, through the threshold to the other side. What lies on the other side? Seemingly a floating island of sand and dirt. Stone obelisks projecting out from jutted points on the land, surrounded by a sea of stars. Stars not dissimilar from the ones that you saw, Ivara. A clear sky, and towards the end of it, a stairway. 5 gigantic steps with this pillar at the end of it, rising up, an inscription on it. Very hard to make out at this point, but in the center of it at the top, a plate depicting a sunrise over an ocean. As you get closer, taking these seemingly natural formed steps carved into the land, walking past the other carved out stone areas, you see the words. Does anyone speak Draconic?
Hold on. I think I speak Draconic because of my patron, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I would say that you and Alan will be the ones to determine that the words you see here in Draconic, you see these are the words of what is to come, what has been, and what may never be. The dragons of old observe and record everything from the position of the moons and stars that surround us. This encompasses all that can be, but not all that will be. An immortal and eternal balance of possibility. Its true nature, unknown, but a revelation of what could be. This is the Draconic prophecy. Look upon it and know your truth.
I would say Vara would probably be reading this out loud to the group. As she's just trying to kind of soak in all of this, this amazing sight before her, especially with it being underground or inside this like giant temple museum. Almost like stepping into another world. And as she finishes reading it, she's just gonna kind of sit there and just look at this thing. Probably and slowly approach the like main big pedestal.
Ellen, who would have been helping Ivar read, is there sort of sharing little bits and pieces back and forth with everyone? We'll just be following Ivar's lead.
And as you all watch as these two read these words, you all feel this stillness. And then from within, you hear a voice you've never heard before, say to you, "What do you fear?" I would like everyone to give me a wisdom saving throw.
Oh shit.
I'm going to warn you now. This is a high DC.
Fuck. That
Just type it into the chat, and I will go by one. Oh boy. Well, we have got ourselves a winner.
It's me!
As each of you begin to think almost instinctively, light focuses from the sunrise portion of the picture. It concentrates almost in a beam to you, Hokash. And all of you hear now audibly, "You fear what you do not understand to be created by man." And from there, the metal in your arm comes off, and a fully flesh-filled arm remains. But the metal tumbles off and then collects itself and crawls up the single giant steps at the base of the obelisk. And soon you see this metal reshape into a more chrome-like color. I didn't cue that music that way, but goddamn, did it help me. And it almost becomes like a liquid metal, forming into the shape of a large, gargantuan, sharp-angled, blade-winged creature. Teeth as sharp as the most defined sword. Hands with claws of metal. Soulless eyes. A helmet for an entire head and face. Fire in its eyes, breathing life into it. Silas, you're the only one who would even dare imagine what this thing actually is. Evan, you've never seen a monstrous form like this in your entire life. Many of you have heard of a Titan Warforged. None have seen one like this. None have bore witness, nor mortal eyes have ever gazed upon and lived to see the very image of the Lord of Blades. And that is where we are going to end our session tonight.
What?
I take it back. I take it back. It gets worse.
What?
Alfie, you wanted to come down here.
I just don't know what my nat 1 did.
Oh gosh.
Terrified.
No concern.
Yep.
I'm concerned.
And now we have to wait a week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Michael, you upset KJ.
I will tell you
KJ
this.
is mad in the chat.
we would not have enough time to really continue this encounter as much as it's
No.
justified, because y'all got to prepare, because we roll an initiative first thing next time. So thank you everybody for watching to this latest episode of Frontiers of Eberron. We will find out what is next for this wonderful gang of misfits and what evil or test they will face in order to safely be able to prepare themselves to get back home, if they're able to get back home at all. We will see you next time, and be sure to tune in all this week for all new shows and streams. I've been Michael St. Gregory. It has been my pleasure to present these wonderful heroes. We will see you next time. To be diced.